We're always told that our health is all about what we do during the day, our workouts, our meals. But what if the biggest risks, especially as we get older, are actually hiding in those last few hours right before we go to sleep? Tonight, we're going to pull back the curtain on 5 seemingly harmless habits that could be silently sabotaging your blood sugar. It's a pretty startling thought, isn't it? The idea that the warning signs of something like diabetes risk can be totally silent, that they don't show up during your busy day, but in the quiet of the night, driven by routines that are so familiar, we don't even see them anymore. And to guide us through this, we're going to lean on the incredible wisdom of Japan's legendary centenarian physician, Dr. Shigeki Hinohara. He spent his entire life studying how these tiny, small choices we make add up to shape our long-term health. So, let's dive in and uncover what he called the 5 unseen saboteurs that might be working against you every single night. Okay, let's start with the first saboteur. And honestly, this one's a big one. It's a mistake that so many of us make, and we make it thinking we're actually doing something healthy. It's all about when you eat that last meal of the day.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because this totally flips what most of us have been taught. The common belief is, right, eat an early dinner, have a nice long fast. That's the gold standard. But as our bodies change, especially after 60, that long fast can actually cause your blood sugar to dip too low overnight. And when that happens, your body kind of hits the panic button and releases the stress hormone cortisol. That nightly spike, over and over, can gradually lead to insulin resistance, which is basically when your cells start to ignore insulin's instructions to take up sugar, leaving it floating around in your blood. And this isn't just a theory. This is a real-world example. Dr. Hinohara tells the story of this patient, a retired professor, who was doing everything by the book. Early dinner, no snacks. But she was waking up in the middle of the night every night, and her health markers were going in the complete wrong direction. The very habit she thought was so healthy was actually wrecking her sleep and her metabolism. So what's the big takeaway here? It's that for our bodies, especially after 60, stability is way more important than restriction. Now, the solution isn't a big meal. We're not talking about a midnight feast. It's just something small and balanced. A few nuts, a spoonful of yogurt, a little bit of boiled egg. That tiny adjustment can be enough to stop that overnight blood sugar dip, keep your hormones steady, and really support your body while you sleep. All right, that brings us right to our second unseen saboteur, and it really builds on that same idea of stability. It turns out it's not just about how many hours you sleep, it's all about when you sleep. We all know this one, right? The catch-up myth. We think, oh, it doesn't matter if I go to bed at 10 p.m. one night and 1 a.m. the next, as long as I get my 8 hours eventually. Well, turns out that's just not how our bodies work. That inconsistency throws your body's internal clock, your circadian rhythm, into total chaos. It's like giving your body a case of jet lag without ever leaving your house. And that internal clock is the master controller for hormones like insulin. And the science on this is, well, it's striking. A study from just this year looked at adults over 60 and found that the ones with the most irregular, chaotic sleep patterns had a significantly higher risk of developing type 2 diabetes. So it's not just about the hours, it's the rhythm. An erratic schedule makes your body way less efficient at using insulin, even if your diet is absolutely perfect. And the solution here is so beautifully simple, but it is so powerful. Just pick a bedtime and try to stick to it. Yes, even on the weekends. Create a simple, gentle routine to signal to your body that it's time to wind down. That consistency trains your metabolism to work like a fine-tuned orchestra, keeping your blood sugar nice and stable. All right, let's move on to our third habit. This one is such a subtle trap, and so many of us fall into it for a really simple reason. We don't want to wake up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. Here's the thing. As we get older, our natural sense of thirst, that little alarm bell in our body, it just doesn't ring as loudly. So it's incredibly easy to become just a little bit dehydrated without even knowing it. And when that happens, your blood literally becomes a little bit thicker, a little more sluggish. Think of it like trying to drive in rush hour traffic. That small change makes it harder for insulin to get where it needs to go to do its job. And over time, that can really mess with your glucose metabolism. Now, the fix is not to chug a huge bottle of water right before you turn out the lights. It's about being strategic. A small glass of herbal tea or maybe some warm water about an hour, hour and a half before sleep. That's usually a must to support your system without waking you up later. It's amazing, but Dr. Hinohara actually saw one patient's blood sugar improve just by adding this one simple step to his evening. So, we've learned our body has this internal rhythm that needs hydration, that needs consistency. Well, it also has a rhythm that's hardwired to respond to light. And that brings us to saboteur number 4, which is a truly modern problem. I'm talking about something that most of us do every single night, and it directly interferes with our ancient biology. I'm talking about screen time.
Okay, so here's the chain reaction. That bright blue light that's blasting out of our phones and tablets and TVs, it's basically screaming, wake up. It's the middle of the day to your brain. This shuts down the production of melatonin, the hormone that helps us sleep. But here's the kicker. Melatonin does more than just make you sleepy. It's also a key player in regulating your blood sugar. A Harvard study showed that even just one night of bright light exposure before bed can significantly reduce your insulin sensitivity the very next morning. It works that fast. So the solution is pretty intuitive, right? We have to create what you could call a digital sunset. About an hour before you plan to go to sleep, just shut it all down. The phone, the tablet, the TV. Let your body get the signal of darkness that it needs to start producing melatonin and get ready for a night of deep rest and metabolic repair. All right, we have arrived at the final habit. And Dr. Hinohara described this one as the most powerful of all. And it's the one that people almost never, ever connect to their physical health. So what is it? It's going to bed in a state of stress or worry or just with your mind racing. It might not seem like a physical act, but what is happening in your mind in that hour before sleep has a direct, profound effect on your blood sugar. And here's the key takeaway. When your mind is just spinning, you're worrying about tomorrow, you're replaying some frustrating conversation, your body goes into a low-grade fight-or-flight mode. Your cortisol levels rise, and that signals your liver to just dump more glucose into your bloodstream. So lying in bed worrying isn't just a mental state, it's a metabolic event. And the impact of dealing with this can be huge. Dr. Hinohara had this patient, a retired teacher, whose blood sugar was slowly creeping up. They figured out that her evening routine was full of stressful news and work emails. When she swapped that out for some gentle stretching and just journaling her thoughts, her morning glucose dropped by nearly 20%. Think about that. So, the solution is to create a deliberate wind-down ritual. And look, this isn't about trying to force your mind to be empty. That's basically impossible. It's about calming your nervous system. Low lights, soothing music, maybe writing down all those thoughts so they stop circling in your head. You're basically signaling to your body that it's safe to power down, to rest, and to repair. And this quote from Dr. Hinohara it really sums it all up, doesn't it? Your body doesn't just turn off when you go to sleep. It's listening. Every little choice you make in that final hour, what you eat, how you breathe, even what you think, it becomes a direct message to yourselves. And you get to choose whether that's a message of stress or a message of calm and restoration. And that's really the crucial point of this whole explainer. The very foundations of metabolic problems like insulin resistance are often laid down silently, night after night, long before they ever show up on a lab report. Our nightly routines are either actively building our health or they're quietly contributing to damage. So, this leaves us with one final powerful question. Now that you've seen these 5 hidden saboteurs and you've seen their really simple solutions, think about your own routine. What message will you choose to send your body tonight?